Has everyone had an opportunity? Rose, I think, sent out the minutes from the previous meeting, and I'm assuming everyone's had an opportunity to review those. And if there's no objection, could I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes? And we have a motion and we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion has passed. The minutes are accepted. And so, Chief, with that, we're going to get right into the agenda, and we're going to have you or your able assistant, Captain Robinson, talk to us about accreditation and certification.
Yes, sir. O'Neill Jackson, Interim Chief of Police, Glynn County Police Department. Welcome. We're here to go over the agenda, talk about the CLIA accreditation and certification, where we are to date on that, as well as the other items. And God willing, we will follow the agenda as planned.
Yeah.
Captain Rob.
Do we have an electrical problem here with the lights or something? Is there?
I don't know. It is pretty dark in here, though. But it's usually pretty dark, but I'm not sure.
Okay, we must have some sort of technical issue. The commissioner not only does his job as a commissioner, he also handles lights and electronics.
Oh, that's a little better. That one came on, sir. One did come on, yes, sir.
Okay. Can the people on the
A little brighter, but yeah.
All right. Well, we will proceed, and hopefully we at some point the director and Teresa can join us. So, Captain.
Yeah, they should be in already.
No. Is he still? No.
There you go. They're coming in now.
Okay. There's the director. Mm-hmm. There's Teresa. Captain, okay, in the interest of time, won't we go ahead and proceed with the report?
All right, good evening, everyone. Today we'll start with certification and accreditation, just to give everyone a sense as to where we are at this point, and many of the milestones that we've actually accomplished thus far, as well as the positive feeling regarding the road ahead as it relates to certification and accreditation. So we are currently at or in phase 4, where we are continuing to identify and implement various standards of both programs, because we are taking a parallel approach to accreditation as well as both certification. We are still attending the bi-monthly regional network meetings, which are actually going extremely well for us, and we'll talk about how that has bared some fruit actually just recently when we had one of the individuals that we work with very closely there come in and actually do an on-site visit with our organization, and that was just this past Monday. But we'll talk about some of the things that were identified as that person came down and actually walked through our facility. And it was kind of an informal mock, not a comprehensive one, but one that at least gave us an idea of what it would look like when we actually start going through the informal process as we're seeking certification and accreditation. Next slide, please. All right, so it appears as though, and I know this question keeps coming up regarding how long it will take for us to get there. This is just simply expressing that we're really in the infancy stage of this process. Doesn't mean that the 10 each bi-monthly are the only 10 that are being reviewed, but we needed to see what the foundation looks like going forward and figure out as our interaction with those that are doing the assessment during these monthly meetings, what feedback we get from them to kind of give us an idea of whether or not we're on the right path. And so in February, we had 10 files reviewed, and of course, the reason it's 10, as we've expressed before, but It frustrates us all that we can only take 10 to these meetings, but after going to these meetings, we kind of understand why that is the cap. But that is the cap we have to work within as it relates to the meetings. Doesn't mean that only 10 are going to be reviewed within a particular time frame, but those are the only ones that we can take to these meetings and have them reviewed by these external entities that are always also participants in this process.
Could you just elaborate on
Yes.
that? You said they explained to you why they can only do 10?
This is you're talking the Georgia Police Certification Coalition.
Briefly, just tell us what.
Only because there's so many others that are bringing 10 files as well, right? And there's more than just this that goes on at those meetings. It's a training meeting, so to speak, but in addition to training, organizations who are pursuing certification and or accreditation get the opportunity to also bring files to the meeting so that they can be reviewed as they are embarking upon their journey towards accreditation and certification. So, go ahead, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir.
There's no opportunity for a carve-out there. That's just the process,
Correct.
and that's
Yes, sir.
what they're going to stay with.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Again, as I need to make sure we place a strong sense of emphasis on, this is when they are reviewing the 10 files during the monthly meetings. Our goal, as you'll see in a few slides later, when we start inviting these same individuals that we're seeing at these meetings to our office, additional reviews are taking place, right? So you have the 10 files that we take to the bi-monthly meeting. We have the invitation that we extend to have individuals come down and kind of walk us through other aspects of the review process, and they're reviewing files as well. And then you have that third leg where we are internally reviewing files also and then running them across the desk of individuals who are afar that would review and say whether or not we are reviewing our own files correctly. So that will start to pick up steam as we continue this process. February was the first month we actually took files out to be reviewed. And the reason why that seems to have taken a while before we had gotten to February, because we had to make sure that the files were what we would interpret it as being in compliant. We couldn't take anything to those meetings until we were full-fledged members, which didn't take place until October or November at the end of last year, once we pay our fee as individuals who are admitted applicants to the certification and accreditation process. So it seems like it is a slow process, but it actually, the timing is not, it's reasonable. It's not unreasonable as far as the timing. And like I said, it will start to pick up as we get more and more, and our accreditation manager and certification manager and the other individuals, the lieutenant we have assigned to the Office of Professional Standards gets comfortable with the process. And as our entire team gets comfortable with the process, it's a cultural shift. When you're talking about making sure that you're in compliance with this and you have the appropriate documents that prove that you have done this, it becomes a routine that an organization needs to get comfortable with and used to, and it becomes part of their DNA, and then becomes more of a simple process. Okay? So in April, we repeated the same process. It was our bi-monthly meeting. We took 10 files there for the external review. And what we included in this presentation here, you can go to the next file, we wanted to give it to you as raw as we possibly could. I think most of you had the actual PowerPoint presentation that was sent out, but they were very positive comments from a reviewer who would be reviewing our files, whether it was a mock assessment or an actual assessment. So what that did, of course, that builds our confidence up, right? And builds up the confidence of really our staff members who are really carrying most of the load, but we're kind of helping them along the way, our certification and accreditation manager, as well as the lieutenant in OPS. It builds their confidence, it builds our confidence up in the process, and of course it helps us gain, hopefully, a very stellar reputation through this process, because those individuals are no different than the individuals who will actually be doing the real assessment. So when they're doing these assessments, when we're taking the 10 files there, they're walking in when they're actually doing the informal or formal assessment thinking, hey, these guys are pretty squared away. And that's the goal. That's the goal. So you can go to the next slide. Again, continuation of positive comments, things like great, perfect, it's what we're looking for, and proofs are fantastic. That's what we want to hear. And we wanted to make sure that we included this in the presentation instead of bulletizing what the responses were. You get to see it in its rare form. Okay? Go to the next slide. All right. Again, we love the word perfect. You know, some are saying we're perfect. We know it's probably not, but they are, well, the group that works on this, to me, they're perfect. But when you're getting comments like that, you know, that really says something, especially when you're just embarking on this journey. And it gives me even more confidence that I can then extend to the chief that, hey, we're on the right track. And it doesn't mean we become complacent or get comfortable, but what it does mean is that we need to continue to maintain where we are. Because ultimately the goal is not only gaining certification and accreditation, but maintaining it. So we're looking for long-term sustainability so that the department does not experience losing the certification once it is gained. All right? So, all right, next slide. We can go to the next one. Okay, so with these relationships that we're able to build through these bi-monthly meetings, and again, fortunately, we have a very solid team that has really, you know, dug their heels in, and they're focused on making sure that we're going down the right path. They've established a very strong relationship with many of the certification managers throughout Georgia, but we were able to find one that's extremely capable, that's pretty close to us, right? So we invited the Hinesville Police Department certification manager, who's just right up the road. We invited them here. Of course, made sure we took them out to eat and had a good time while they were here, but they were just here for one day. But it was very effective, extremely effective. So here are some of the things that they provide us in a feedback. Again, we're not going to sugarcoat anything as we go through this process. Some things are easy fixes, but some things are things that we need to just put in an extra effort to make sure we get it done. So the Police Department certification manager came down here, visited us on Monday, stayed with us throughout the whole day, got a chance to talk with her informally, as well as just go through the process of kind of auditing what it is that we're doing and how we're doing it, and some things that she wanted to make sure we were aware of that would stand out from the actual person who's coming here to do the assessment. May seem small things, but she said these are the things that people are going to be looking for. So you need to be cognizant of that as you're continuing to prepare for this process. So one of the feedback points that was provided is mission statement. Now we have one, and we have a very good one, but she wanted to make sure that we understood that it needed to be visibly displayed throughout the department building, specifically in the briefing room, throughout the hall strategically, in our front lobby if possible. It's not only just at the station, the main headquarters, but over on the island at the substation as well. And we're in the process of actually fully occupying a facility off of 17 that would become the Glynn County Police Department Training Center. And so we need to make sure it's there as well. So she gave us some very good pointers, didn't fall on deaf ears. These are things that we're going to make sure are not only squared away before the actual assessments take place, but are squared away as quickly as possible. What she also conducted was just a quick cursory physical security assessment, not from a perspective of a physical security expert, but from a perspective of someone who would be assessing your organization, and gave us some pointers on things that we needed to keep in mind as it relates to that aspect of the review, and those things we are taking into consideration as well, and we'll be making appropriate changes. And something as simple as this, right? We have training rosters, everyone goes to training, but sometimes the assessor just looks at the training roster. And the assessor wants to be able to draw the conclusion that every rank in the organization participates in training, right? So don't just have the officer whose name is there, include the rank as well. If it's a lieutenant, if it's a sergeant, if it's a captain, the assistant chief or chief, if they're attending the training, put the rank there so the person can see that training is being expected, and it's actually, training is considered important at every level within the organization. Because sometimes, I mean, it's not uncommon, right? In some departments, those senior officers may not attend training, not as frequent as the officers, but we do. So because we do, we need to go ahead and make sure that's annotated on the training roster, sign-in roster. Simple fix, easy fix, but those are the simple things that will either get you over the hump and get certified, or people would look at it and be suspect of whether or not you are really operating as a law enforcement agency that should be certified. So feedback, I'd like to, quote what the person said to us generally. She said, overall good, and that we are on the right track. So coming from them, the assessor, not from us, but it's something we like to hear. And we emphasize to her, as well as when we're going to these bi-monthly meetings, we want, let us know if it's not going well so that we can fix it. We're not going to, you're not going to hurt our feelings, so to speak. I mean, you may hurt our feelings, but we're not going to take it personal. Okay, next slide. All right, so these are the phases we have to go through. Of course, begin the formal process. The informal process is going very well. We're taking it extremely serious, and we do understand that it's just going to take us, putting our efforts into this as much as we possibly can, and all of our efforts into it. Okay, next slide. All right, and I will turn this over to Interim Chief Jackson, unless there are any questions, and I'll be happy to answer any questions before we get
I'd just like to make a quick point. Even though we now realize that this is on an extended schedule.
Yes, sir.
I really hope that it doesn't lose its importance within the department.
Yes,
and
sir.
the focus. Chief Jackson, I'm hoping we continue to make sure we have the resources and the commitment to get this done, which was the original mandate for this panel.
Yes, sir.
And we have sort of a passionate interest in that. So, please make sure we continue to push forward on this. Any other comments on accreditation certification, Commissioner?
We've come a long way, and I just can't thank you guys enough. I know it very tough times before, but it seems like we're on a glad path and coming to make a smooth landing, hopefully soon.
Yes, sir.
And Captain Robinson, I'd like to give you some personal credit for your labor and your persistence on continuing to push this forward. So thank you very much, and we appreciate it. And so I think our next agenda item is recruitment and retention. Chief, if we could get an update on that.
Gotcha. But before I go, I'd like to emphasize, of course, I'm very committed to getting this thing done, but our accreditation and certification manager, as well as our lieutenant and our Office of Professional Standards, they're doing a lot of the heavy lift, and I'm so thankful for both of them for
we know you're only
us.
We know you're only riding in the cart here. Okay.
Done deal. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you.
All righty, good evening again. We have taken the PAP's advice in regards to recruitment and retention, and we realize that we definitely need to get our numbers up to get the resources out on the street so that we can keep the citizens of Glynn County safe. Currently, we have 102 that are on staff sworn. Of those 102, we have, excuse me, we have 4 that are going through the academy right now who are slated to graduate in June. We have 4 that are awaiting to go to the academy. So we're getting bodies in now. I was stuck at 100, going to 101 now. I'm at 102, and obviously our goal is to get to 132 so we can get to the 140 number. One of the things that
What is the current staffing level authorized?
the current status is 132. Once we hit that 132, then we have 8 additional COP grant positions that we would be able to fill. One of the things that we took into consideration when we brought on the new recruiter is she can't do it alone. Okay, so we reorganized a little bit with putting recruitment under training, and we've got 2 additional people that are now assisting her with that whole process, which I think is going to be very key to what we're doing, as well as the ways in which we're advertising and some of the events that we're actually involved in more as far as out in the community and things of that sort. So I think if we continue on this path, that will be very beneficial with getting folks in, and that's the goal, to get more bodies in, get more applicants in, and get more people on the force. We do have some individuals that are still in the process at this point. We have 9 that are pending their background, 4 that are waiting interviews, and so that's where we are currently with recruitment. If you go to the next slide, some of the events that we've been involved in recently in April, Appling County Law Enforcement Expo. That was a big career fair in Appling County. Ourselves, fire, and other first responders from the region were there. We did get noticed, and so folks did apply. The goal is to get folks talking to us and getting folks to apply. Jacksonville Hiring Expo, we actually went to an event over at Glynn Mall. It was more of a car show, but we were there. As long as we're there, we took some of our assets. Our SWAT team was there just to give people an idea of what it is that we do and some of the opportunities that are available there at the police department if anyone's interested in a career in law enforcement. A couple of Sundays ago, we were out at another community event at the Arbery Park community event. That was something that a local church put on, but the more people that we can get in front of, the more opportunities that we have to bring people in. And to be frank with you, I think the police department needs to be reflective of our community, and gatherings like that are prime locations for us to engage with folks, and it says something about the police department being willing to do an event like that. Next, please. June, and we're really excited about this one. So June 3rd, we're having the Golden Isles Public Safety Career Day, and that's going to bring all the first responders together. We've got Brunswick PD that's going to be participating, fire, communications, and we've opened that up to the entire region. In fact, we just had a meeting today about it, and it seems like we're getting some traction with other law enforcement agencies. I think we're up to 7 different law enforcement agencies, at least 1 fire EMS agency, but there's others that have expressed interest. We just got to get them registered now. We're all trying to get the same people, so we wanted to, like I say, public safety, make this all about public safety, and not just about the police department. The public safety director, we're one big family when it comes to public safety, and everybody's looking for people.
Where is that event taking?
That event will be taking place over at Ballard Park, over at, what is that, 303 and 341? So it'll be an outdoor, indoor kind of event. Booths will be set up. There'll be food. And so since we're live, this is a perfect opportunity to invite community members to come out to that event on June the 3rd.
What time is kickoff for that? Do you have an approximate time?
Do you have that, Captain, by any chance?
So yet to be decided.
Oh, okay. Someone probably had that.
And the flyer's been put on our Facebook page.
And so we're advertising in the community. We're going to convenience stores. We're going to malls. We're going to businesses and asking folks to put up that flyer for us. The word of mouth and advertisement like that is the best thing that we can do to try to draw a crowd.
Is that a weekend date?
It is, I believe it's a Saturday, and it's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Well, I mean, is it, this may be a dumb question. Is there an opportunity to go to high schools and in the area and say, we'll provide transportation for anybody that wants to show up at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and wants to go to this event? I'm just thinking outside the box kind of approach there.
I know we are advertising at the high schools. I don't know if we've considered that as far as providing transportation for folks to get there. I don't believe we've discussed any of that, but that's obviously something that we can potentially look at. Because, like I say, we're going to be in partnership with the Board of Education Police Department too, and hopefully they'll join us as well. And that is all for recruitment and retention. Any questions?
I'm interested. You guys have any thoughts on this issue?
I serve on the foundation at the college, and I do know that they have a criminal justice program there, and I know that the Flexi and other agencies utilize training and career training opportunities there, but have we looked into, and I may have missed this, so forgive me if I have we looked into an opportunity where we could maybe perhaps grow our own? We have students that are there that perhaps are graduating with a degree in criminal justice, and many of them want to join the federal ranks, but perhaps like we have in the education platform where we have teachers, we grow our own teachers, perhaps we should consider something like that. Have some conversation with the college. We know that the students will be receiving an education. We will be developing or receiving a different type of law enforcement official, and that perhaps it would be someone that's local or a family that has moved into the area. It's an opportunity. It's not low-hanging fruit, but it is fruit that would show an investment into Glynn County, and that would make huge wins. And I don't want to date myself, but a lot of officers have gone back to college. I was a non-traditional student, and I do believe that sometimes we don't capture what we have here. So I think it's wonderful that we've gone to the community parks and to partner with the churches and so forth, and I think you should continue that. But I also think we have reached a point as our county grows and our resources and our treasure within this county that we are making an investment not just from education but for a law enforcement official. Our future chief could be there. Our future captain is probably there. And we will be getting a different type of officer. Not to say that the officers that we have on board now are not competent, but we will be engaging people that will be able to keep up with the accreditation standards and all of the other things that are now happening as it relates to the law enforcement community and what you have to do. I know in the presentation from accreditation, I was thinking about the fact that you've invited other folks to come and visit and look at our records, but does it go a little step further in terms of the training standards? For example, if something happened, do we stop and look at training records that are already in place? Well, that new officer, that officer that's probably sitting at the College of Coastal Georgia would be able to really understand that and engage. I know from a federal official standards, that's what we look for. I think it's something worth looking into. Dr. Johnson at the college is doing a phenomenal job out there. And I think that's something that we should probably have a relationship with the college in some way. Not saying that, we got young men and women on the streets of Brunswick and Glynn County. And just imagine if they're educated here, they're trained here, and they make this their home and occupy the positions that you three gentlemen sit in. I just think that would be a great investment.
Can I add to that? If I could add, okay, I'm sorry. I did want to add, because that's a great idea. The interns get an intern program, and they come aboard, and all of a sudden you're keeping them busy, and then they want to stay. They want a seat at the table.
Right.
So, that's a great opportunity if you can start an intern program. Me? No. No, I wasn't an intern. I started as an instructor.
Yeah, just to build on that, I think the community events are fantastic air cover. I've never personally found that it's very easy to track direct, like we set up a booth, and because I put a flyer into a young person's hands, they become an employee. Although I do think we should have some metrics to try to measure that, so that we can say, we're going to stop doing these events for this reason. This event is more of just awareness. This doesn't really fall under the recruitment, pipeline, because it's just not working as a recruitment event. I find that today's youth, they're making decisions for working mostly because of a relational connection or a missional connection, because they believe in what the work that's doing. Compensation is up there, but I think that if you can actually design a strategy, in your teams that are working on that, then you can actually measure if these events are generating qualified leads for us rather than just the air
leads.
cover, just community awareness and connection, which I think is fine. We are talking, I've been talking with Captain and Interim Chief about a gather-in-place internship that we have. It's a workforce development program. This is at the high school level, but if we can place an intern, we'd love to overcome any legal hurdles that you guys are getting a little bit of pushback on. But it places students within organizations and businesses in our community. We hire 40 high school interns every summer. And to me, that's an actual measurable pipeline for recruitment, because you create a touch point and you can tell if that student became an hourly employee beyond this internship experience. So to summarize, I think it'd be great to have a follow-up strategy to figure out if these awareness events are just that, community awareness, and we're just shaking hands and presence, which is a win in itself, or is it actually a legitimate recruitment tool? And if so, if it's both and, how are we measuring that to see if it's working for that? So those are some thoughts on that.
Actually, that would be an interesting metric to measure onboarding versus recruitment. You say we get a briefing monthly on people who are in the pipeline, and how they got into the pipeline, why they fell out of the pipeline, and why they didn't reach the onboarding stage. And like you were just commenting, should we be focusing our resources and our money and our efforts somewhere else? And ABRA, locally, looking versus going to Atlanta, looking right here in Glynn.
No, absolutely.
And I don't know the answer to that, but I think you two have hit hit on a great.
Make another comment,
great
and
point.
also from the money, because we've talked about costs to hire people and salaries. But when you look at that, from the metrics of what my friend just spoke about, and you look at the internship piece, you're not looking at paying someone $75,000 out the gate. You're looking at someone that's committed over a 3 to 5 year period where their salary will grow. We will have an accredited program in place. We are surrounded by some of the best law enforcement training opportunities in the world. And so we could easily replicate that and at least borrow some ideas. We do that at the Marshalls. We hire interns. We bring them in at a certain pay scale. They are committed to us for 3 to 5 years. So there's a way to we have rigorous type training. They go through the same background investigation that you would go through with the ones that you do that are 50, 45 years of age. And I just think we could possibly do something financially to really get to that magic number that you're trying to get through. And perhaps with the extra funding that you have from the COPS grant, there may be a way you can leverage and really put some boots on the ground in that. Military does that
And just
in
a
some
quick
way.
question, is there currently a internship program?
So currently, we have an intern. I want to say she just started Monday from the college. So we do partner with those entities. We also, what is it? I'm going to mess this up. Ogeechee? So, Ogeechee, thank you. Valdosta State and all of the technical colleges, we are partnering with them, and we are trying to forge relationships with them. The Academy in Savannah. So we are doing what it is that you're requesting as far as reaching out to the communities.
I did an internship in 79 and 80. One was with the Glynn County Police, part of dispatch, where I learned, and then the other was 2 years with juvenile court system. And it opened my eyes to a lot of things as far as reality goes, and people who do things that are important, and what's going on in the community, lessons learned, things not to do. So we do anything with high school juniors and seniors, or?
We are exploring doing that. We just discussed something today. It's called Headsets to Handcuffs. Communication center that allows individuals to come on board at 18 years old. A lot of those people, after working there for a little bit of time, they generally enjoy doing law enforcement, and potentially that is an opportunity to get them into the pipeline, get them hearing calls, learning what's going on the street, so that we potentially get them into patrol cars. Going to the schools, we've talked about a cadet program or explorer program, and that's something that we're looking to partner with potentially BPD in doing.
Well, thank you. 'Cause it certainly helped me decide to go to college for criminal justice. Even though I didn't join the force right out of high school, I went to college for criminal justice. That was really good.
Sure, yes, sir.
Do you have an Explorer post here?
We used to have one. Law enforcement used to have one, but it's currently non-existent. They did.
That's a great program.
Right, I'm a product of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So, well, thank you very much for that report. But as you can see, everyone is just trying to be,
As
helpful
as possible.
Yeah. So thank you for your efforts, but I guess we need to redouble them.
We recognize there's still more to do, just like
Yeah.
with accreditation and certification.
Commissioner, do you have a comment? I'm sorry. Did you have a? No. I think we next. Any more conversation?
I do have one thing. Chief, what Abra or Miss Latney was talking about was, I think if you can attract somebody that already has a criminal justice degree, maybe they don't want to go to law school, maybe we can put some kind of bonus money together. So you stay here 2 years and you receive a bonus. I don't know if that's been explored. I mean,
some months ago, I can't remember how many, we did give to the panel a draft recruitment and retention plan, which did call for education bonuses, referral bonuses. I think we talked about that, as well as tuition reimbursement, which is already written into the budget, if I'm not mistaken, Commissioner.
right, there's also some retention money in there too, as I remember.
Okay.
When I was going through it.
So yes,
I
those
don't,
are.
I don't remember the amount, but I know there is some in there for retention.
Yeah, we need to recognize the folks that have been there for 4, 5, 7, 8 years, and some other longevity type things. Some of the officers that I lost just this year, sergeants who had 12, 13 years on, they did it for financial reasons. So yes, recognizing the dedication and the sacrifices of these officers is very important. I think one of the other things that was in our recruitment and retention plan was specialty pay for someone that decides they're going to be an FTO or a K-9 officer or something along
Do you
those
have
lines, or a SWAT
language
team.
bonuses?
Sir?
Do you have language bonus?
We do not currently, but yeah, our Spanish-speaking officers or anyone that speaks a foreign language. Every now and then you might get a French speaker that's a visitor, and we're going to need somebody to be able to speak with them if they're a victim of a crime.
Okay, well, thank you for that report, and we appreciate your efforts, and we know you're working hard to try to get those numbers up. So I think our next agenda item is the mental health. Captain Robinson, if you can just give us an update on where we are with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll give the panel a quick update on our efforts regarding behavioral health response, which we're very, very excited about as far as gaining some recent traction. And then I'll give a quick summary on a meeting I attended today, which I think will complement what it is that we may be able to do, hopefully sooner than later. So, of course, we talked about, we're in phase 4 with this project as well, or this initiative. The crisis intervention team training is ongoing, so we're continuing to get officers trained in this area so they can be as well versed as they possibly can when they come across an individual who may be experiencing a mental health crisis. We did, of course, and we've talked about this before, but we received a grant that supports this effort. And we've also applied for additional funding. And the additional funding was applied for through the Georgia Safety and Violence Reduction Grant. And this is funding for the embedded mental health professional, meaning having someone physically embedded within the police department to be able to respond with our team in the event that we need to respond to an incident that calls for that type of response, or a comprehensive response that would need not only the assistance of law enforcement, but a mental health professional as well. So here's just a quick status on where that grant is. In talking to our grant manager for the county, of course, we received an initial review of our grant application in January, and she called and did a follow-up review as recently as this week, and apparently our grant is going before a subsequent review. So I don't think that's any bad news. I think that may be good news for us. Her interpretation of that is that, one, a number of entities within Georgia did apply for this grant, and two, they may just be trying to figure out who gets awarded what in regards to the amount. So we may not get the amount that we're requesting, but fingers crossed that we may get something that will help with this effort. But nonetheless, despite not having the grant funding at this time to have what we would deem the ideal and more robust response to having such an entity as the behavioral health response team, we're still moving the needle forward, and we think we will still be able to move it forward in a way that will allow us to have at least an adequate response, a more adequate response, I should say. So you can go to the next slide, please. All right, so in March of this year, even though we were pending applicant for the grant to have someone physically embedded, we engaged in further conversations with Gateway Community Service Board, and we discussed what are the potential possibilities moving forward with this. And of course, they gave us two options, or at least presented two options that may pique our interest. One, of course, was what is stated here, where it states, of course, the amount that it would cost the county annually to have that person who's available for us, or at least a series of individuals physically available for us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And of course, we would have, that person would have a phone that someone would keep on them and pass around to make sure that someone on duty has the phone, at least the number, or the phone rather, if they're the mental health professional that's on duty at that particular time, and be awaiting a call if needed. Of course, this is still, of course, in option one. And of course, here are the other things that come along with that. It will be a mixed license clinician or physician, would have a maximum of 4 calls per shift, and as we go over, of course, it would cost additional funding. So that was the first option, and we were like, well, let's kind of ease our way into this whole project before we make a formal presentation and request authorization to move forward, and then we looked at option 2. So option 2 is not uncommon, right, in the healthcare space now when you're talking telehealth. So this is what option 2 offers us. It's primarily a virtual service. We're in the process now of working with Gateway to establish what the protocol would look like that would prompt the phone call to seek assistance. The same thing that can be done if the person was physically on site can still be done if the person is virtually, as it relates to the 1013 potential commitment or order that would have to or would be needed in any particular event or circumstance. So, but that would cost us approximately $50 per call. GCPD, we would coordinate, manage, and track calls to the service number. Over would equal a fee per call, see option 2, and then we don't think we would go over based on what our statistics look like now, but of course that could change, but at least this option, which is what we are in the we're in the process of attempting to actually solidify through the review of an MOU and BAA that is actually being reviewed now by our county attorney's office. This would at least allow us to get something started and an additional resource and access to additional resource for our officers. And here's what actually also makes us even feel more comfortable about this is how Savannah and many of the other entities that have a full-fledged program, many of them started their program in this manner, right? They kind of did it this way to kind of engage what the need was to further make their case in the event more resources would be needed. Yes.
Could you give us a very quick, what would this look like?
So
Give us an example of
absolutely
what would happen in this
absolutely
scenario.
Yes, very good question. So earlier, I guess around July or August of last year, we started doing a pilot or a proof of concept. And we did this with Coastal Community Health. And we did a pilot with an actual behavioral health professional. So as we were engaging in calls that would call for this type of service, we would have a number to an individual behavioral health professional who would accompany us on that call. And so we had an issue or an incident that occurred on Blythe Island some part of last year. And during this incident, there was an individual who was giving all the signs that we would interpret as someone who's experiencing a mental health crisis. So we called the person, we were actually doing the pilot at that time, we called the individual that we were working with, they came on site, we gave them a description of what it is that we were seeing, what the person was saying, and kind of a description of what the incident was about. And then we had our crisis negotiator actually call and talk to the person with the mental health professional. Of course, we made sure everything was safe. Initially, this person was actually holding someone hostage in the home. They let that person out of the home. We were told the person had a weapon with them. We negotiated and talked to that person. The mental health counselor engaged in that conversation as well. We were able to actually bring that to a successful conclusion. Now, it wasn't as easy as I'm making it sound here. There were a lot of other variables that were in play, but the mental health professional was actually on scene with us, advising as we were engaging this individual and also consulting that individual during this whole process, and determined that that person needed to seek or obtain some sort of intervention or assistance in the mental health arena. Now, that person was still, handcuffed and handled as they should be, appropriately should be. But in the same sense, we were able to de-escalate this situation to a point where everyone went home safely and or went to jail if they needed to go to jail. But at the same time, they got the help that they needed, and the officers were able to, again, de-escalate that situation where no one got hurt.
Is this my thought goes to speed. Is this a dedicated service for first responders? Because I know some
Yes.
telehealth, you have to call like an operator. The operator then calls the doctor, they call you back, it takes half an hour. Or is this like a, pretty quick call?
Yeah, this would be the call would be directly to
Okay.
the licensed professional.
That's great.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So that's where it looks like we will start. And we're making a lot of, a lot of progress in the discussions with the county attorney's office on what needs to also be included in this MOU. So it's coming to a point where it will be formally established. Yep. All right, next steps. As everyone can see and has seen from many of their notes, those are the next steps of the process once everything gets put into place and we're able to actually activate this unit in a way where we will have the expert assistance needed in these types of instances. And another good news, which is kind of separate from this, because we are going to work with Gateway in this initiative as it relates to what I'm talking about today. Coastal Community Health is also proposing a program or establishing a mental health or behavioral health response program as well, where the person would be physically available, but it would be shared throughout the various entities in the county and the city, as well as the Sheriff's Department. But we had an inaugural discussion on that this afternoon, and that is just still in its infancy, but it seems like it will be something that will complement what we're doing here.
Well, it's certainly national. It's a national subject,
Yes, sir.
issue and concern, and we're just very appreciative of you guys, taking this seriously and working toward this. So it's a great effort
Yes,
by
sir.
you and for the community. So
Yes,
we
sir.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You're quite
Thank you.
welcome.
Any other comments on
Okay.
that?
All right.
All right,
Thank you
I
guys
think
so much.
that we're down to the last item, and I believe the last item is the future of this august body we set in front of you today. And I'm going to turn this over. Thanks for coming in, Bill. Appreciate that. And I think Bill's going to give us a quick briefing on the future of the PAP. So, Bill?
All right, good afternoon. First off, just on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, just all the tremendous work that the Police Advisory Panel has done over the years, this last couple of years has been really tremendous, and we want to thank you for everything that you've done to this point. We still have more to go. But I just wanted to make an announcement that the board would like to move in a little bit different direction with next steps when it comes to the police advisory panel. This current panel was actually supposed to, it ran through July of June 30th of 2022. It was extended a year to get us to June 30th of 2023. And so we are now, what the board would like to do is have a little bit different makeup of the panel. And essentially, we're still looking at ways to, and what we need to call it. I think that one of the things that we discussed was to make this a committee similar to the other committees that the county has, a pension committee, personnel committee, similar, but to have actual board representation with 3 board members on here. So I'll talk about the makeup here in a minute. Some of the things that the police advisory panel has done, and we're still going to have one more meeting, so we're going to have a meeting in June, so this won't be the last meeting for the PAP. But just obviously some of the things that you've been able to do over the last couple of years when it comes to really providing guidance in a difficult time with the community, for the police department in particular, and so we appreciate that. But also just helping us with accreditation, certification, and the path to get there, recruiting, retention, as you saw from mental health response, officer resiliency. There's so many topics that you were able to help the Glynn County Police Department with. We very much appreciate that. And so next steps is more of a committee similar to what we've done with other committees across the county. So we're probably going to have 3 board commissioners that are going to serve on the next committee, probably 3 members of the public, and then either myself or another staff member will serve. So the thought now is, and we're still making this, we're still going through the development process, and we're still working on the charter for what this committee is going to look like. But that's probably the flavor of what it's going to be. It's going to be 3 committee members, most likely the chairman, plus 2 additional commissioners, and then, as I mentioned, 3 community members, and then myself. And so the new committee will still be an advisory committee, but we want to make sure that we have community input. So we want to make sure we have community members that are going to be on this panel or on the committee, and we're still going to work towards the same things to work with Glynn County Police Department to make sure that they're successful. I do think that the board really wants to be able to dive a little bit deeper into some of the things that are going on in the Glynn County Police Department to just to make sure that we're successful, we're accountable, and to make sure that we're moving in the right direction for the community. So again, thank you. One more meeting, but thank you for everything that you've done so far.
Well, thank you, Bill, for that, and that brings us to the subject. Well, first of all, I've been extremely rude by not welcoming Scott Ebner here tonight, the Director of Public Safety. Thank you very much, Scott, for coming out and being a part of the, or at least viewing the meeting today. And we wish you all the success in the world in your position, and we'll be watching closely as you work to get yourself embedded into it. And so with that, Rose, you have recommendations for the next and final meeting of the Police Advisory Panel.
The courthouse will be closed from June 1st through the 15th for AV reinstall, so I recommended June 21st.
June the 21st. Well, we'll put that down as a calendar invite, Rose, and anyone who has a problem, please let Rose know. But otherwise, we're going to target the 21st of June as the next PAP meeting. So 21st. What did I say? Did I say the 21st? Yes, sir. Okay, good. How did you? By the way, how did you shoot him tonight? Did you shoot straight?
Not as straight as I used to.
And with that, do I have a motion to close the meeting? Oh, seconded? Second. All in favor? Aye. All right. It's been moved and approved, and this meeting is concluded. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Captain